If you enjoy this type of content, subscribe to the channel and leave a like to be part of the community. Now let's get started.
The river arrived without warning. On a suffocating March afternoon, the clouds closed over the Savannah like a lid, and the rain came heavy, furious, giving no one chance. Researcher Kofi Mensah was 300 meters from the shore when the sound came, a deep, continuous noise, completely different from thunder. It was the flood rushing down the valley. He ran to the edge and stood still, unable to move. 5 lion cubs were trapped on a sandbank that the river was slowly swallowing. Their mother had been swept away minutes earlier. Kofi had seen, completely helpless, the golden body disappear into the brown current. The cubs had barely opened their eyes to the world and were already facing the end. They whimpered, huddled together, as the muddy water rose over their ankles, then over their tiny knees. Kofi knew he wouldn't be able to reach them in time. The current was too strong. That was when he saw Siku. The capuchin monkey appeared over the rocks, as if she had fallen from the sky. She was an adult female, with dark fur and very lively eyes, whom Kofi had known for months. She had been living alone on the edges of the territory since losing her only infant to a snake weeks earlier. Siku stopped at the edge, looked at the cubs, then at the murky water. Kofi held his breath. She jumped. It was not a hesitant leap. It was direct, determined, as if that were the only right thing to do in that moment. Siku swam against the current with a strength that didn't match the size of her body, reached the sandbank, and began pushing the cubs one by one toward the higher rocks. She whimpered, slipped, came back. When the sandbank disappeared completely under the water, all 5 cubs were out. Kofi kept watching for a long time, unable to write a single word in his notebook. That night, Siku did not leave. She lay beside the 5 small, trembling bodies, warming them with her own heat. There was a silent question in the air that Kofi simply could not answer yet. What would she do when the cubs woke up hungry? If you are enjoying this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and tell in the comments what you thought, and which city or country you are watching from. The answer came before dawn. Kofi woke up to a strange sound coming from the acacia tree where Siku had settled with the cubs. It wasn't crying. It was sucking. He approached slowly, flashlight off, guided only by the gray light that precedes the sun, and what he saw left him breathless for a full moment. Siku was nursing all 5 of them. It wasn't possible, at least it shouldn't be. She had lost her infant weeks earlier, and the female body doesn't work like that by chance. Milk production doesn't just return on its own, not without a strong enough biological reason. Kofi wrote everything down with a trembling hand, not fully understanding what he was recording. Nature had bent one of its own rules, and he had witnessed it. In the following days, the entire savannah seemed unsure how to react. The zebras from a nearby group sniffed the wind in Siku's direction and backed away. The buffaloes changed their route for no apparent reason. Even the birds fell silent when she passed with the cubs clinging to her back or lined up behind her. There was something unsettling about that scene, not because of violence, but the opposite, because of the complete absence of violence where everyone expected to find it. Kofi named the 5 cubs in his field notebooks: Deo, Run, Kale, Bora, and Luma. Short names, easy to jot down quickly. Siku did not treat them with excessive delicacy. She bit Deo's ear when he wandered too far. She pushed Ren with her snout when he tried to climb rocks too tall for his still short legs. She barked at Kale and Bora when they fought near the water. And Luma, the smallest and quietest of the 5, she sometimes carried simply pressed against her chest, as if she knew that one needed a different kind of care. She was a mother, without metaphor, without romanticism. She was a mother functioning. The problem began in the 3rd week. An adult male leopard had established territory less than 2 kilometers away, in the rocks on the north side. Kofi knew it was only a matter of time. Leopards attack cubs of any species when the opportunity arises, and 5 little lions without a father, cared for by a 12-kilogram primate, were exactly the kind of opportunity an experienced predator recognizes from afar. What Kofi didn't know yet was that Siku had also noticed the leopard, and that she was already doing something about it. Siku began changing the routes 3 days before the attack. Kofi noticed it first through the pattern. She stopped using the path between the 2 acacias that led straight to the water and began taking a long detour along the rocky side, always at dusk, always with the cubs lined up behind her. At first, he thought it was random behavior. Then he noticed that the new route passed exactly over a rise from which it was possible to see the leopard's movements without being seen. She was mapping the enemy. During the day, while Deo, Run, Kale, Bora, and Luma slept in the hollow of the large rock, Siku disappeared for short periods, never more than 20 minutes. Kofi began to follow her carefully enough not to be noticed, and discovered what she did during those absences. She visited other animals. Not just any animals. She sought out the old ones. There was a female elephant with no cataloged name who lived semi-isolated near the southern swamp, almost always alone. There was a male buffalo with a broken horn that grazed in the same stretch of tall grass near the second bend of the river. And there was a family of baboons that occupied the red rocks to the east, led by a large and aggressive male named by Kofi as Pharaoh because of a scar on his right shoulder. With each of them, Siku made the same gesture. She approached slowly, stood still for a moment, and then emitted a sequence of sounds that Kofi had never recorded from her before. It wasn't an alarm. It wasn't a call for an infant. It was something slower, more deliberate, almost as if she were explaining something. Kofi recorded everything with his field recorder and spent 3 long, silent nights trying to understand what he had witnessed. On the 4th night, the leopard moved. Kofi saw the silhouette leaving the northern rocks shortly after midnight, descending in a straight line toward the hollow where the cubs slept. It was an experienced animal. It made no noise, did not rush its steps, and conserved every movement. The kind of predator that rarely fails. Siku was sitting on a rock above the hollow, motionless, looking in the exact direction from which the leopard was coming. She knew.
If you want to see more content like this, the best way to ensure that is by subscribing and leaving a like. That way, YouTube understands that you are part of our community. Take advantage and leave a shout out with the name of your city below.
And when the leopard was 70 meters away, something in the red rocks to the east began to move, and Kofi finally understood what all those visits had been for. Pharaoh came down from the red rocks with 23 baboons behind him. They didn't come running. They came in silence, spread out in a semicircle, occupying the terrain with a precision that seemed rehearsed. The leopard stopped, turned its head once, then again assessing. Experienced predators know the difference between an ambush and a casual encounter, and that was nothing casual. Siku climbed down from the rock slowly and stood between the baboons and the hollow where the cubs slept. The leopard remained still for 40 seconds, Kofi counted. Then it stepped back twice, turned its body, and disappeared into the darkness without making a single sound. It had not been defeated by strength. It had been defeated by intelligence, and some part of it had recognized that. Kofi stayed awake until dawn, rereading his notes. The following months were the strangest and most unsettling he had documented in 15 years working in the open field. Deo grew quickly and soon became too big to cling to Siku's back, but kept trying. Rin developed the habit of following the female elephant from the swamp at a distance, as if he were learning something he still couldn't name. Kale and Bora were inseparable and hunted insects together with a comical seriousness. Luma, the smallest of all, spent entire hours watching Siku in absolute silence, copying every gesture with a detailed attention that unsettled Kofi in a way he couldn't quite explain in his notebooks. Siku taught them to recognize the smells of danger. She taught them where the water was good and where it was contaminated. She taught that certain bird sounds meant a predator was nearby. She never let them attack zebras. When one of the cubs advanced toward an ungulate, she cut the path off with her body and emitted that slow, deliberate sound that Kofi had recorded months earlier. It wasn't prohibition. It was explanation. By the second year, all 5 were already bigger than Siku. By the third, they were 3 times her size. And even so, when she bit Dao's ear for carelessness, he lowered his head. The turning point came at the beginning of the 4th year, when Kofi found fresh tracks of adult lions coming from the north, a large and territorial group that had lost its area to a devastating fire. They were hungry, and they were approaching. This time, Siku did not go looking for allies. This time, she stood still at the exact center of the territory, quiet, waiting for them to arrive. The lions from the north arrived at dawn, 7 in total. They were heavy adults, marked by territorial scars, with that fixed gaze of those who had not come to negotiate. The largest of them stopped 40 meters from Siku and roared once, a sound that cut through the grass and made Kofi instinctively step back, even from 200 meters away. Siku did not move. Then Dao came out from the rocks. Then Ren. Then Kale and Bora together, shoulder to shoulder as always. And finally Luma, who walked to the front of them all and stood beside Siku, pressing her massive muzzle against Siku's small head with a gentleness that seemed impossible for an animal of that size. The 7 lions from the north stood still. It wasn't the size of the 5 that held them back, although they were large and well-fed. It was something else. It was the way the 5 positioned themselves, not in front of Siku, but around her, forming a circle, protecting something at the center. The northern male looked at Siku for a long moment, then lowered his head. Kofi wrote in his notebook, with a hand that still trembled, "I have never seen a lion yield territory without a fight." The 7 turned and left by the same path they had come. Siku lived for 2 more years after that day. She grew slower, quieter, spending hours lying on the large rock warmed by the sun. The 5 never strayed far. Dao hunted and returned. Rin stayed close on cold nights. Luma slept pressed against her, just as she had done when she was too small to defend herself. When Siku died, it was at dawn, with no apparent pain, with Luma beside her. Kofi found the 5 the next morning, sitting around her body in silence. He watched from a distance for a time he could not measure. He wrote nothing that day. The entire savannah seemed quieter. What Siku did has no scientific name. It does not fit into any documented category of animal behavior. She chose to love what she had every reason to fear, and created something that nature alone would not have been able to achieve. Sometimes the most unlikely act is the only one that truly changes something. If this story touched you in any way, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell in the comments what you thought, and which city or country you're watching this from right now.